Hello, everyone. My name is Julianne Meyer, and I am the host of Own Your Wellness. And I'm excited for today's guest because he and I speak the same language, and it is going to be a lot of fun. And we are going to educate in such a fun way. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on our guest, Dr. Darian Parker. Welcome.
Hello.
So glad to have you here with us today. So I would just love to just jump right in. Why don't you tell us a bit about yourself and your own wellness journey?
Yeah, well, one, thank you, Julie, for having me on. I really appreciate it. That's so
Thanks
kind
for
of
being
you.
here.
Yeah, I love being on shows. I enjoy connecting. My journey started really young. I grew up in a military family with pretty athletic parents, especially my father, who was a college football player, and my brother and I played sports throughout our childhood. And I really got involved, especially in track and field when I was in high school. Ended up getting a scholarship to run track and field in college, which is a great experience. And it kind of set me on my path towards wanting to be in health, fitness, and wellness. I just really loved it. And so I was like the guy who, even though we had practice, I still wanted to work out more. I was like really into it. I just couldn't get enough of it. And then I really loved the relationship aspect of fitness and wellness, this kind of vulnerable space to be in with other people, when people are almost their most raw version of themselves in this fitness wellness space for that. So I immediately after college decided I need more education. I want to be like the best person I could be in this field. So I did my master's degree at James Madison University, where I did my bachelor's degree at the same place, Kinesiology and exercise leadership. And I was like, I think I need more education. I'm going to get some more education. And I decided to get my doctorate in sports education leadership with an emphasis in behavior modification in sports and exercise settings from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, completely different places, other sides of the country. And then during that time, after I did that, I felt like, all right, I have the educational background. Now I need the work experience. And during that time, I was a personal trainer during my educational period, but kept doing that. Then I got into the career college system, where I was a director of education, and I was helping to certify personal trainers become trainers. And eventually I landed in the luxury fitness and wellness environment and did that for about 12 years and was a fitness executive, GM during that time. And then this all kind of led into my current life, where I work for myself. I own 3 businesses. One is a personal training company. One is a spa, fitness, and recreation consulting and management company. The other is a personal and professional wellness platform called F.EM.
I love that. A man who knows it all, basically. But
not everything.
Still learning. There's always something. There's
Most
always. I love that. So there's a few things that you talked about or mentioned that I really want to touch on. One is that, you mentioned the relationships and like the vulnerability of, being in that space. And a lot of people, I'm just going to bring it back to something really simple where, somebody maybe wants to go to the gym and they feel uncomfortable because they don't like the way that they look, or they don't, they're just not comfortable in their skin. What would you say to somebody to help them overcome that and just realize that, hey, everybody basically feels the same way. Let's get together and do it.
Let's get together. I've had a lot of thoughts on this, obviously from my education, but anecdotally and, chatting with my colleagues. And I think the point of view that I have is probably very different than the majority of people. I'll tell you why. So one is, I think it's okay to feel that way. Number one. It's not like you're on an island here. But 2, you probably shouldn't feel enthused about starting this journey, actually. That's going to be very counterculture to what any fitness professional will probably tell you, health and wellness. And there's a reason for that, because there is a huge biological and anthropological reasoning for this. Is that what we're currently doing is so foreign to our biology, it shouldn't make sense to you to go to a gym and to work out around a bunch of people, because ancient humans did not do this. Our calories were always spent for reproduction, digging, tubing, hunting, surviving. So if you look at hunter-gatherer tribes now, And in the past, this concept of exercising for health or getting better for health is completely foreign to most humans then and now in those environments. So it makes sense that you don't want to do it. And it's actually okay to feel that way. That's the first step, I believe, in explaining to people that it's not just you don't want to do it. Biologically, you don't want to do it either.
You know, I've never heard that before, but it makes so much sense to me. And, you know, it's not natural. I mean, even when I lived in Europe, they didn't really have gyms there. So it's not even an all around the world kind of a lifestyle. It's more of an American or North American sort of thing. But, or at least it was back when I lived in Europe. But my point, though, is that I love that idea of that it's okay that you don't have to be excited about it. And it would be normal if you're not, because a lot of people feel like, oh, maybe this isn't for me because I'm not pumped.
Yeah. Well, I think, I like to just bring, I don't want to say maybe reality, but I like to bring not only my opinion, but good data with it. And I think we've got the messaging completely wrong on this, completely. I think our messaging on exercise, physical activity, and movement is completely off by the majority of people in my profession and advertise. I think it's completely off. It caters to the 12 to 13% of people who already are fit completely.
Yes.
People who look like me or other people. So people who are fit love it because they're getting fitter. They're having more options to be fitter, but the messaging is completely off. If you look at any of these commercials, it doesn't make sense. If you look at a Peloton commercial or anything like that, it looks more upscale. It caters to people who are in a different income bracket. It says this is an exclusive demographic that we're in here. If you watch the Christmas commercial, all this stuff, it caters to people who have the means, who have the know-how, and who are already into it already. And it doesn't explain why we have this condition, why we don't want to do it, and why for the past 30 plus years, less than 20% of the population exercises regularly. It explains nothing of that. It just skips it and says, you should do this.
I love the idea of normalizing that it's not normal to want to exercise in that particular way because, I can't even explain to you. Even myself, I felt like maybe there's something wrong with me, or, I've been a personal trainer for years and I don't go to the gym. I prefer to work out in other ways. I am fit, but, that's just not my thing. And it was for a while, but after COVID, I had to switch it up. I'm like, ooh, this is so much better now. But, fitness, it could be, I don't know, it doesn't have to look one particular way either, in my opinion.
No, not at all. But I think we're just not giving people permission to be like, I don't want to do this. Like I'm not saying you should stay there, but I'm saying that it's okay to say that and not feel bad about it, because it's not just your own personal attitude. You're overriding this biological mechanism for the path of least resistance. Think about it. You're training, that you're asking people to do something that is inherently uncomfortable for them. And people's human instinct is to do stuff that makes them feel pleasurable for that.
Exactly. And like you said, if it's something new to you, then obviously your brain will literally fight you because it has to build new neural pathways. And it's it takes a lot of energy to do that. So, I love the idea of letting people know that they're not alone and it's not weird. There's literally a reason. And for me, I don't know, if somebody had told me that years ago, then it would have made it a lot easier for me to start, because it would have been like, oh, okay. It's just not normal or natural for me, but that's fine. I can override that.
Yeah. It's just, we need to have a better message about it. And I have so many colleagues, like they're fighting this fight of like, if you'd spent 10 more minutes exercising a day, the United States, we'd have 100,000 less deaths. And my thing is like, that's great information that no one really cares that much about, honestly.
Exactly.
Like, I'm going to be honest with you. Nobody cares about that information.
Yeah.
Until you get to the source of why we don't want to do it, then we could start working on why we should be doing it. Even though we don't want to do the things we're currently doing, the point of it is we have to. And then this is another thing that I think is I'm not trying to be controversial. I'm just trying to be practical about it here. Humans don't want to go backwards. We don't want to have less technology, less convenience. I mean, do you want to have a life where you have way less things that are convenient? Most people don't.
Yeah, most people don't.
Right? So unless we move back into a hunter-gatherer based, manual labor based society, the honest truth, in my opinion, it's just purely my opinion. And also what the data is showing me is not a lot's going to change on a mass scale. We're making life easier and easier. There's a trade-off for that. And we're seeing that in our entire health and wellness, not just in the United States, but it's spreading globally actually as well.
It is absolutely spreading like wildfire, and it's kind of insane. But, you said something else that I really want to touch on that I found interesting. You mentioned the word luxury earlier. Yes. What does that mean? Like luxury fitness or luxury? I mean, how does it all go together? And is it kind of excluding people, or what does it mean?
Of course it is. I mean, definitely. Make no bones about it. I've worked in the luxury fitness industry for a long time. And see, the thing for me is I'm not trying to say that I'm trying to save everyone in fitness. Yeah. I'm not creating this large thing. I'm going to make America feel fitter and everybody. I don't think that's possible. I know that sounds negative. It's just there's a mountain of evidence and my observation. I just don't see it that way. I see it as like, hey, I want to work with the people that
want it.
They want it. They actually, they have a desire to change for that. But the luxury fitness industry is just one segment of health and wellness. They're generally private residential communities or high-end hotel communities where, net worth of people living there or going there is extremely high. For that, they have the means, they generally have the knowledge and being and better physiological, mental, social, emotional condition means a lot. It's part of the daily routine for that.
No, I love that too. But here's my question, and this isn't really necessarily fitness, but it has to do with like luxury. And the point is that we're all people, but people with more means tend to have a sort of different mindset somewhere, somehow. It's not just money, because money doesn't change. It's not, that's just a thing. What's the difference in the mindset? I mean, especially when it comes to exercise.
I think what I've seen, and I ran a luxury fitness facility in a private residential community for over 10 years. And my observation, a lot of the folks that are in there are CEOs of companies making obscene amounts of money, very prominent figures publicly, the whole thing. And I think there's a very similar mindset of productivity, of wanting to be productive. And this is just one element of being productive. Like I would have some people say, listen, I'm in here because I want to feel confident when I'm in meetings. Feeling good and being fit makes me feel confident in meetings. Not about like, it was weird. I was like, okay, this is a confidence issue. It's like, I've taken care of all these things, my approach to eating, how I take care of, my physical fitness, therapy, the whole thing was like put together this whole team so they can maximize their productivity, especially at work was a big thing.
That's amazing. And I love that. And the reason why I asked that, because I worked in addiction recovery for quite a while, and I noticed a lot of similarities between people that had addiction issues. I mean, it was the weirdest things ever. Like things like they always wanted to watch shows like Law and Order, anything that was like a criminal show.
Right.
I mean, there's just certain things like traits and characteristics and mindset that when you choose certain things, it's like, oh, okay, this is common. And that's kind of why I was asking, because, if somebody wants to change their life, then they have to change the energy behind it. So it's like, okay, mind's got to change. Energy's got to change. So if they're really interested in wellness or however they get to it, then maybe, hearing from you, for example, who's, dealt with maybe a different sort of clientele than the people that are typically on the show, then, that would be fabulous. So I love that.
Yeah. It's just, when I started in that environment, I was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to like this because
Mm-hmm.
I had preconceived ideas
Ah,
about very wealthy people. And it wasn't true. Once
yeah.
I got it, everybody is very similar. The money is a difference, but everybody
Mm-hmm.
experiences similar emotions and stuff. But I really feel like the difference was there was a productivity element to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this translates to being confident and
Mm-hmm.
productive in work, but other areas of the person's life. They saw it in a very different way, I thought.
Yeah, no, I love that. I've always wondered, so I'm glad you answered that question because
That's
there
what
are
I've seen.
definitely, yeah, it's fascinating to me. So for somebody that I mean, I know that fitness is really important, but what about diet?
Uh, that's like a loaded word, isn't it?
So let
I
me guess,
mean,
you don't like that word.
yeah. So I don't like the word either. I think words have very significant meaning
They do.
in our society. And in fact, the other day I have my own podcast I've been doing forever, and I'm about to release this one. It's called Knowledge, Opinions, and Ignorance.
Ah.
And defining. I'm all about operationally defining words because a lot of times people throw around words they don't know what they mean or don't
Mhm.
understand the context of that. And so I think diet is just a very vague term that people throw around all the time. I'm on this diet, I'm on that diet. I
Yeah.
prefer like what's your approach
Mhm.
towards nutrition? How does food make you feel?
Mhm.
Understand that way. But it's a big business. It's always been a big business, and it plays on a very intimate, sensitive thing for people for that. And so
Yeah.
I don't spend a lot of time, honestly, about um, nutrition with my clients and things because I can give generalized information, but this is not my scope of practice.
Exactly.
So the other thing is I don't want to be like, let me rephrase this. There are colleagues of mine in the larger industry that often break this rule,
Hmm.
but don't understand that if you run along the right or wrong client,
Mhm.
you could be sued for this. You could be negligible for this. And this never happened to me, but in working in a luxury environment, there are nothing but lawyers. Nothing. There's so many lawyers that work out in luxury clubs, and you
Mhm.
start to learn like how the game works. And so I
Mhm.
think sometimes our business people are too lax about it. You have to be very careful. What would a reasonably prudent trainer do? What
Mhm.
are they allowed to do? So
Yeah.
I provide very generalized things, but I don't get in too deep because it's not my scope of practice.
You bring up such an important point because, you know, you don't go to a fish shop to buy meat. So,
Yeah,
like, I'm talking beef or chicken. You
sure.
don't go to the library to buy tires. It's like, I like that you stay in your scope of knowledge because when we start to branch off, it just becomes more opinion. So it's kind of,
That's right.
I know for me, when I first started working out, and I happen to know quite a bit about nutrition, but my trainers would say to me stuff about it. And I thought, you have no idea what you're talking about. Why are
No.
you telling me this? And it felt
Yeah.
very unsafe. So
Yeah.
I guess my question for you would be, when somebody's looking to work with somebody, like a personal trainer, for example, what should they be looking for?
Well, they shouldn't be looking for weight loss. Number one. A lot of clients come to train us for weight loss, and it's just
Mhm.
an education
Mhm.
exercise. Unless you're willing to commit incredibly crazy amounts of time to working
Mhm.
out and intensity, exercise is fairly inefficient for weight loss. Um, Clearly, it's a much larger nutritional aspect of things. So it's like, don't come
Mhm.
to me for weight loss. And I
Yeah.
want to get that out there because so many clients, that's what they do. They say,
Mhm.
help me lose weight. I'm like, okay, let me break it to you. Okay. You're basically ignorant on this. You
Mhm.
haven't had the exposure to the proper information. It's not an opinion that you're ignorant to it. That doesn't
Mhm.
mean you're a less of a person. It just means you're ignorant to it. I'm ignorant to what's happening let's say in Malaysia and the
Mhm.
government. I don't know. I mean, it's not like I don't talk about those things. I don't know. I'm ignorant to it. So they shouldn't be looking for weight loss. Two, you should be looking for someone who understands that it's a process that is a very simple process, but very difficult at the same time. Stimulus, response, recovery on a very basic level. But also, on the other hand, a trainer that will be very consistent with you, shows up on time. Can't believe how many trainers don't show up on time.
Wow.
Very poor practice, very poor habits, preparation habits, showing up on time. Has your trainer been in business for a while? Do they have consistent clientele? Can they give you references of long-term commitments they've had with their clients, things of that nature, or that? I think that stuff's really important. And will the trainer be truthful to you about the expectations for the results for that? Meaning they won't say, hey, I promise you this, or you do this with me, you're going to get this. The truth is no one knows what the results are going to be. So you can't promise something that you actually don't know for what's going to happen.
Yeah. Have you noticed too, a lot of people hire trainers so that almost like they expect them to do the work for them. It's like, I can't do your push-ups for you. You still got to do the work.
Got to do the work. There's no magical pill or thinking behind it, or, you know, and you have to show up and have a reasonably good attitude. I understand it's not always going to happen. I've been a trainer for 21 years and I've been very fortunate. I've had tremendously loyal, committed people the majority of the time. But you get some people who are just, I'm not sure they were ready for being in it. Their readiness was not actually there to
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. I've noticed that too. I find that fascinating. So you were mentioning this and I'd like to talk about it quickly. You have your own podcast. So would you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah. Dr. D's Social Network. Well, let me back up. I've been networking for a very long time. Networking, evil word, right? A little bit. It was like, I swear I'm not creepy about it. It's like I love connecting with people. So I've been connecting with my colleagues in health, fitness, and wellness for over 15 years, having 6-7 phone calls a week with just people I don't know. Just because I like to always know who is in the business, how I can be supportive, be encouraging to people. Just say, hey, I want to be a good person in your life. And so I was like, you know what? Podcasts were starting to get pretty big. And I was like, I'm already doing it, essentially. I'm just going to transition from doing these calls to just making them podcasts. And so I really focused on initially just doing like working, talking to people in fitness and wellness. But then I decided, I want to have a larger spectrum of guests and stuff. So now I talk to pretty much anybody that I find a very interesting, their story connects to me. I would say I primarily do it for me. It's an education. I'm always wanting to learn from different sectors, different stories of life that different people have. And it doesn't make me an expert. Just because I heard somebody talk about quantum mechanics doesn't mean I can go and talk about it, but it does help me have a general understanding of the content for that. So
I love that. Yes, you are definitely a professional student.
Just want to learn. I'm curious.
Exactly.
Very curious.
No, I totally understand that. And where can people listen to your podcast?
Yeah, on all major platforms. Also on my website, which I guess will be coming up on, is drdarianparker.com. Boom, just like that. On there. You just go to podcasts, Dr. D's Social Network. It has all the episodes on there, and my personal training, and also as a poetry page. I love poetry, and so I've published many poetry books. So it's just different sides of me. I don't want to be known as a fitness person per se. I want to be known as a well-rounded person that's into a lot of things, art and science and different aspects of me.
Well, I'm going to say something a little loaded, and I think you might actually appreciate it. But wouldn't you say that wellness is more than just like what you put into your body and how much you move it? I think for me, it is how you educate yourself, how you spend your time, the things that you're learning, how you're feeding your soul, all of that fun stuff, just like it, being well-rounded.
Yeah, let's jump into this because this is a big part of, I think, current society, is part of my companies, but wellness is a very vague term. Another very vague term. Everybody's working on their wellness, or everybody's doing self-care, these things. And again, I'm like, what is the definition of these things? Or motivation? What does that mean? So, and wellness, if you really look at it in a very technical sense, it involves many pillars of what it means to be well. It's social, emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, occupational, environmental. So if somebody tells me, I feel like I'm a really well person, I go, what does that mean? Like, I'm working on, like, what does that mean? And like, oh, I go to the gym, I work out all the time, my nutrition is great, I'm eating clean. I'm like, that's it? And I was like, you've done like 2 of the 8 things. Like, how can you call yourself a well person? Like, if you're in great physical condition, but you have poor coping skills, you're not a well person. You're just not. Like, it's just like,
amen.
Right? You have poor social skills, but you are great. You are, have incredible approach to nutrition. You eat really well. You're not a well person.
Exactly.
Like, if you work out really hard and you're eating as well, but your sleeping's horrendous, you are not a well person.
Exactly.
So we need to better operationalize and understand what this means. And so we often attack things, 1 or 2 things. I'm good. It's not that,
No, I love that. It's like the term success. That's so broad and vague. Broad. What does that even mean?
Yeah. What does it mean? I mean, it's very subjective. It's very subjective.
It is very subjective, but I'm so glad to hear you say that about wellness. I knew that you would understand exactly where I was going with that one.
I was picking up what you're putting down.
Exactly. But on that note, we do have to go to commercial break. So we'll be back in just a moment. Okay. I know you guys are having as much fun as I am, and I'm so excited for this conversation, but we do have to go to commercial break, as I mentioned. So for those of you who are watching us live, thank you as always, and we will be right back. Are you someone who is struggling to move forward because you suffered a loss? Maybe you're even finding it difficult to complete the most basic tasks. Are you looking for a way to start enjoying life again without feeling guilty or the resistance to do so? Spiritual life coach Sarah Stockham saw a need for people who haven't learned how to grieve without putting their entire lives on pause. And so she created a program that solves this issue called Choosing Life Right Now. This program is simple and you can do it on your own. If you are ready to learn how to feel your grief while still being able to smile, to honor the sacredness of what took place as a loss, and yet still continue to live with joy, and if you'd like to take care of your whole being with grace and love, then I'd like to invite you to experience her new program called Choosing Life Right Now. Sarah is currently offering her program for the promotional price of $77, but it won't stay at this price for long. To learn more, check out her website. The address is on the screen.
When drug or alcohol addiction take over, things begin to disappear. Your friends, your family, and eventually, you. Recommended by Dr. Phil, New Method Wellness can help get your life back with individualized treatment plans for dual diagnosis clients. New Method Wellness provides the most highly credentialed treatment in a safe and welcome environment. Call New Method Wellness for your free consultation and ask about our national accreditations. Together, we can put the pieces back together.
Welcome back, everyone. If you're just joining us now, my name is Julianne Meyer, and I am the host of Own Your Wellness. And today's guest is Dr. Darian Parker. Let's bring him back. Hello again. So before we went to break, we talked a little bit about your podcast, but on your website, what can people find? But you said poetry, your podcast. What else? Can they reach out to you that way?
Yeah, they can reach out to me as well. Like there's a contact me page where you can, reach out to me. I keep it really simple. I don't want it to be too busy and about me.
Smart.
Very simple stuff. Distill it down. So it's basically podcasting, personal training, poetry, 3 Ps. There.
I like that. The 3 Ps, important. It kind of touches on a few different things. I like that.
That's right. So
you mentioned too that you have a community that people can you explain that?
Yeah, this I just launched this with a colleague of mine, Kara Sandoval, about 2 months ago. It's called F.EM, but it's F.EM.
Oh, okay.
And really, like, I love connection. I had mentioned that before on the other side about like I love connecting with people. And so I met Kara, and sometimes you meet people and you're like, I got to do something with this person. Like I feel like there's synergy. You feel that you're like, we have to do something together.
I don't know what, but we got to do something.
So we were just having all these, phone calls, and I was like, what are we going to do? And I said, you know what? Why don't we create like a private personal and professional wellness platform that we define what that means, but where people could come and they can feel like a sense of like people are going to be cheerleading you on this. You're going to get a lot of great, reputable, reproducible, valid information. You're not going to have quackery or quick fixes. You're going to be able to grow in all the elements of what it means to be well, and what we discuss socially, emotionally, physically, spiritually, everything on that. And we'll have master classes, and we'll feature you. And the goal really is like you'll give your knowledge that you have instead of taking it from other people. You give first, you receive second. Service is important. Service to other people is critically important for people in our business, I believe, because we spend so much time trying to get our own stuff, create our own business. What we forget is one of the greatest ways to be well is to help others be well. Is you refresh other people, you refresh yourself for that. So that's a huge part of what we do. It's and what's different, it's a paid membership. So it's not like a social media site where you just go on and you pay when you're on that. You just don't realize that you're paying for it, with your data privacy and all this stuff. It's $25 a month. The first month on us is free always. So you can get an idea if there's something you like or not. If you don't like it, it's okay. It's okay to not like something and be like, and not want to do it. And we're totally okay with that. But we want you to have a good time meeting really honest, welcoming, inviting, and loving people. I think we need more of that. So we created a space just for that.
I love that. And, something I want to mention too, about like having people paying is that if you have some skin in the game, you're a lot more likely to take it seriously and use it instead of in name only, and because who wants, I know you're trying to be of service as well. So you're not, it's not like, yes, you should be compensated for time because that's just the laws of the universe. But, why create something just to make money when you can create something that's going to help people and they're, going to be able to grow themselves and, create this community and be of service themselves. I totally love that idea. Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. And charity is a part of it. So 10% of the monthly membership goes to our grassroots charities that actually make a difference. That the first month that our members were charged, 10% of their money went to our first organization, Black Fairy Godmother, who basically helps women who are dealing with domestic terror and domestic violence. And so we were able to get a mother and her children into a hotel and escape domestic violence that they were a part of. So again, the theme of giving, you're not giving to, it's great to give to large organizations, but the ones that we give to, they're going to feel it immediately. It's going to be very tangible to you with that. And so we're very transparent about that. We record all of our business meetings, and we put it out on the site and say, hey, you need to know what we're doing and be involved in what's going on. Like, there's nothing going on crazy. This is what we're doing. So transparency is important too.
I love that. That's a beautiful thing too, especially because, I don't know about you, but I've given money to charities and like, I don't know what happened to that.
Right. You don't know. Yeah.
It's nice to know. It's nice to be like, oh, wow, that actually did, I helped contribute to that woman and her child, having some sense of safety, even if it was just for a moment. I mean, I'd pay that.
Yeah, so we do animal rescues, BIPOC. We're just doing stuff that, like, even if it's $50, it makes a massive difference totally that we contribute. So, I think it's really all about giving back. This is, to me, what I feel led towards my ministry, in a sense, giving back and giving other health and wellness enthusiasts. You don't even have to be a professional, but enthusiasts, to be a part of something that is a grassroots platform that's continuing to grow, where everybody knows each other, and they actually spend the time getting to know each other.
I like that idea. And then that people are like-minded because they wouldn't be there otherwise. So it's not like social media where you're sifting through and not knowing what you're getting.
Yeah, I honestly think if social media was actually, there was currency exchanged and people were paying a premium, a lot of the behavior would not be what it was.
Exactly.
Because when you pay attention differently.
You do.
And you use it in a very different way. When you have nothing invested into something, you just say flippant things, or you do a lot of crazy things, because what's there to lose? You're not losing anything.
Exactly. No, I agree with you 100%. That's why I think $25 is really extremely reasonable.
It's pretty reasonable. You're spending that on lattes and stuff.
Exactly. like a week.
Yeah, easily. Like every couple days or something. People are, come on.
I know. I just think about all the money I've wasted on silly things.
Everybody does it. We're all guilty of it.
Yeah.
So we're like, and we give people a free month to just try it out. And It's not like it doesn't tell you. It tells you, hey, you have this many days left. You can just get rid of it if you want. It's okay.
Yeah. No, I like that. I think that's a beautiful thing.
Thanks.
So, I wanted to touch back about fitness a little bit more, because a lot of people are here to learn more about that in particular. Why do you think it is important for somebody to have a trainer?
I think for most people, they need the accountability. I mean, again, I think it goes back. You're just, the thing that's frustrating, I think, as a fitness professional, is when people tell you, I can't believe I have to pay for me to do this, or somebody tells them, why are you paying to work out? It's like this unbelievability factor that I can't believe I'm paying to move my body, or to have physical activity or exercise. And it's like, you're paying for a lot of things in life that you might think is ridiculous, but you're doing it. I mean, it's like, and so it's just something that you need the accountability, because the majority of humans are not self-starters when it comes to taking care of their body. That's just the truth. And not even just my own truth that I believe, but statistically, it's also factual with that.
Well, I'm going to be the first one to admit it. I have a client that I work out with in the morning. We work out together so that I'll work out. Sure. That keeps me accountable. Before that, I had a personal trainer. I know what I'm doing. Doesn't matter. I needed the accountability. I needed to show up.
Right. And you need the expertise, because you may watch this and go, well, I don't need one. I work out all the time. Like, okay, let's break down this workout that you're doing.
Exactly.
All right. Like, is there intensity? Like, when intensity, is there a changing of the variables in here? Are you going in there and you pumping the same routine every single time, lifting the same load every time, not varying the intensity, the duration, the sets, whatever it is, the incline, whatever variable, the modality.
Yeah.
And like I know, if you go to any gym, the majority of humans do the same exact thing every time.
Exactly.
Zero variation. You know what that is? That's physical activity. That is a lack of a stimulus that is greater than what you're used to. It's not exercise. Exercise is a stimulus gradually provided over time that's greater than what you're used to. You got comfortable and you do the same thing and you say, I go to the gym, but you're not improving. There's a huge difference.
That's something that you're bringing up that makes me think of another important point is there's and you said this, but the importance of movement versus exercise. If you only exercise and you don't move at all the rest of the time, how healthy are you going to be? Sitting there like 23 hours a day, sitting or laying down, and the rest of it you're working out, like that's not healthy either. So
one of the strangest things is people drive themselves to a gym or go up to a gym and then stand still most of the time.
Yeah.
And even the exercise that's done is done in a stationary area. There's no actual dynamic movement moving around the facility. It's like you're going to stand still.
Yeah.
Everything. Like that's to me opposite of what should be done.
Yeah, no, it always cracks me up. When I used to go to 24-hour fitness, people were fighting for the closest spot to the door. And I'm like, you're going to the gym. You can walk.
And I totally get that. It makes sense.
Just like, or an escalator, taking the escalator in. I'm like, what is wrong with you? But yeah,
it makes biological sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, it does, but it's just so funny to me because you're there to move. So why not move?
I mean, the majority of people need personal trainers. I'm not saying just because I'm in the business and, I want somebody to work with me. It's like, no, I mean, there's very few humans that provide enough of a stimulus to improve themselves on a regular basis. I've rarely seen that. And even as a former collegiate athlete, and we're talking about, I was always around the fittest people. You're always around super fit people all the time. And a lot of them don't want to do it. It's not like all these athletes you see on TV, you think they love fitness. You're ignorant to it. Most of them do not. It's just a byproduct to win or to achieve something. There's very few athletes that actually love fitness.
Yeah.
And the process of it and the stimulus provided. It just looks like it that they're into it.
Yeah. Well, another thing too. Well, one is even the best athletes in the world have coaches. So
exactly. What's the difference with you? You don't need a coach.
Exactly. But the other thing too that I think people don't realize is, I know that for me, when I first started working out, I expected it to get easier. No, because the level goes up.
No, I have a great example of this. I was a collegiate track and field coach as well as a collegiate athlete. I was a pretty decent athlete. And if you think about it, you explain like, okay, you're running like an 8-minute mile. And it's, to you, maybe that's hard. But you think when somebody starts running in the 4:30s, 4:10s, you think that's easy for them?
Yeah.
No, it's incredibly hard. It feels way worse than running an 8-minute mile. And the training becomes more excruciating the fitter you get, because you're always trying to get an extra 10th. You're trying to stretch a little bit further out, because in the beginning you make these huge gains because you're kind of at the bottom. And then once you start reaching more of your genetic ceiling and you've already created a lot of overload, it's so hard to keep improving and to get that extra out of it. And so everything's brutal at that point. Being in great shape is not exciting. Like in terms of the actual work, it's actually incredibly difficult. The funnest part was when I was like 12 or something. It was like,
No, I think that's a really good point too, because you also have to decide how bad do you want it.
Right. That's a great point. You got to be willing, like if you're trying to get to like literally the physical peak of yourself, you're probably going to sacrifice some health for performance at that point. And you have to like make that decision if you want that or not.
Or, there's certain things that you might miss out on. I'm a huge thing of like FOMO,
Yeah.
That I don't drink, but, it might be your Friday night out with your friends that you're no longer doing anymore because 1, it's, like alcohol, and 2, you need the sleep, and 3, you're not going to be at your peak performance the next day if you're working out. So, there's definitely ebb and flow to everything, but I love that idea though. There's something else that you talked about that I think you have to accept.
Sorry, go ahead. No, I was just saying, I just think you have to accept where you want to be or where you are. Like,
Exactly.
you can keep saying, like, I want, man, I've heard this so many times. I'm sure you have. I need to get in better shape. I need to do better.
Mhm.
I'm like, you need to actually start doing it or just accept the mediocrity that you're in. Like, you just need to accept it. Like,
Yeah.
because nobody wants to keep hearing that, over and over again.
Yes. And, that's a really blunt way of putting it.
Yeah, I don't like to mess around. I've been in the business too long. I've hardened in a sense because you see the same behavior
Over
over
and
and over
over,
again.
yeah.
You're like, I don't want to hear this anymore. I'm like, if you keep telling me this and nothing changes, I'm
Mhm.
going to tell you, let's get comfortable with this mediocre place that you're in.
Yeah.
And like, and you may be offended by it, but that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Like, you need to just accept it or actually
Yeah.
do something.
I mean, it's taking up a lot of energy and brain power just not accepting it anyway. You might as well use that somewhere else.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, no, it's funny too because I've heard so many people say things like, oh, they'll go out, say like they'll go do their group class so that they can go out for happy hour. I'm like, there is no amount of exercise that's gonna
No.
make up for that bad behavior. Like,
I
if you
tend to
want
look
to
at
go
it.
for it, but be honest about it.
You should just be open about it. Like,
Yeah,
I enjoy cocktails and things like that.
yeah,
But I don't say, oh, like, oh, I fell off the wagon or I'm cheating. I'm like, listen, I know what this does to me. I'm not an idiot
yeah,
about it. I'm making a choice
yeah,
to do things that I want to do. I'm not like going to feel guilty about it. I understand what it is. Or I
exactly.
accept it though. I don't
Mhm.
go, oh, why did I do, like, just accept it. And you're gonna have a better life if you accept the things that you're basically not willing to do. You're like, I'm not willing to do this. You know what I'll tell you? I'll go, that's good. That's good. Because you're gonna have more peace accepting it versus and always striving towards something that you're never actually gonna do.
Exactly. No, I love that idea too because, it's a matter of acceptance and it's okay and I hate that idea of like bad food or, bad
No,
workouts and all that. I mean, who says it's bad? Like who made that
no.
distinction?
I think we got to get rid of this weird vocabulary we have with health and wellness. It's like, I can't stand when people say it's from cheat day. I'm like, so the
Yeah.
connotation behind that, like, have you ever thought about the connotation behind what
Yeah.
that means? Or I'm
Exactly.
eating clean. I'm like, what does that mean? Like,
Mhm.
you're putting these labels on these things and you're creating this really rigid
Yeah.
thing in your mind. It's like, how does it make you feel? I have a lot of
Mhm.
chef friends, and one of my best chef friends, we talk about this. How does it make you feel?
Mhm.
Like, do you feel optimal when you eat this
Yeah.
way or certain things? And yes or no. And if you're like, no, but listen, it's a night out. Oh, well, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, then you know what time it is. It's like, it's okay.
Exactly.
I'm not going to apologize about it. I'm just going to be like,
Uh-huh.
it is what it is.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'll be the first to admit there's a couple things I love, like ice cream and I love
Yeah, me
cheese.
too.
And I will purposely eat it knowing full well my body is not going to like it. And I don't care. And I'm cool
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah. It's your
Just like,
thing. It's okay.
yeah,
It's
I'm all
totally
right.
okay. You'll be
I'll eat
fine.
differently tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, and this other thing that, like, we all have to do the same thing. I
Yeah.
mean, information is only as good as the time it's in, and
Yes.
certainly nutritionally. Again, this is not my expertise.
Hmm.
I would never get into the specifics of it, but in a broad sense, we know that food science, nutrition science changes fairly rapidly.
Yep.
So we know that from the 80s. We were once doing trans fat, and now it's like illegal. I mean, it's like,
Exactly.
so whatever is good now may not be good later. I don't
Hmm.
know. It changes rapidly. But all I know is in the moment, if I've been out, I'm in Vegas. I lived in Vegas a long time. I'm hanging with my friends. We've been bowling, we're drinking. Yeah, I really don't care. I mean, it's like, I'm just gonna do that day. It's not like I'm doing it all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna like feel weird about it. I mean, like,
Yeah.
it's too much
Exactly.
energy for that.
It goes back to the acceptance.
You gotta accept it. I don't. A lot of
Mhm.
people don't want to accept these things. They want
Yeah.
to feel like they're meeting society standards for where they should be, or I should be doing this. I should be doing that. No,
Yeah.
I think for yourself. What what do you want to do, and what are you going to have action about?
Yeah.
If you're not willing to take the steps for it, then be willing to accept that this is not something you're going to do, and make peace with it.
Beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. Well, I know that you have to go in about 5 minutes. So
Yeah.
I'm just curious, is there anything that you want to make sure that we talk about or that you want to mention to the audience?
I think kind of wrapping back around to the beginning of the conversation is, I have a very different take on being in the business and working with people and just people in general, especially due to my behavioral modification background and understanding people. It's really important to understand the origin story of things in your life. Why do you feel a certain way? Or why do you feel you have to do this or have to do that? Or it's okay to give yourself permission. You see the words we've used today: permission, acceptance. And also, I think one last point too is we have to be careful about this term self-care. Right? It's a very big buzzword here. But what I have seen, again, I'm going to say this is my opinion. I don't have a huge amount of statistical knowledge, but I'm not ignorant about it. In my opinion, self-care can dangerously become self-indulgence for people. When it's all about you and not about helping other people, becomes self-indulgence and all about the self. You should take care of yourself and invest in yourself. But at what point does it become only about that for you? So I feel like we're turning into this very toxic individualistic society where it's only about me. And it's a dangerous pathway to be in.
It really is. Yeah.
Only about me. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm glad that you mentioned that because, for me, I need to be well so I can help others. That's kind of how I look at things instead. And then I noticed too, my problems get a heck of a lot smaller if I'm not focusing on myself all of the time.
Yeah. You should focus on yourself, but not like constantly.
Yeah.
Like, it's like crazy.
Myopic.
Like, why is it always about you? Like, be there for other people. And it's just like when you're connecting with other people, anybody listening, watching this, meet a new person this week. Seriously, just reach out to somebody new on any social thing you're on, whatever, and say, hey, don't be creepy. Just say, hey, I'm trying to get to know people. I want to meet new people, have different experiences. I'd love to have a phone call or video chat. If they say no, oh well, just keep it moving. Just keep moving on. And you just do that. I'm telling you, you're going to meet amazing people by actually doing the action of asking people to connect with you. You don't have the action, nothing will ever happen. And the last thing, I feel like I'm coming on here to be controversial. I'm not. It's not that. I'm not that type of person. But the other thing, the lesson I feel is like this whole concept of manifestation. I'm going to manifest things. I understand the concept very well, but nothing's going to happen for you if there's no action behind that.
Yes.
All right. There's nothing. You're not going to get the greatest job you've ever wanted, the best relationship you ever wanted, just because you tell the universe you want it. It doesn't work that way. Because there's a lot of amazing people who live in poverty or who are in middle class who've done everything right and they never got everything they wanted.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. But the principle is if you have a positive attitude about it, you hopefully have something larger in yourself. You look in whether it's universe, God, whatever it is, and then you have action with it. You're more likely to have something good happen. But you are not promised that you will manifest the thing you want. There's no promises in life.
There never is.
Never. So however magical you want it to be, it ain't going to be like that without the action.
Oh, yes. And that's what was missing from The Secret. Sit in a chair and a Ferrari's out front. Yeah. Right.
I'm like, that's prosperity. It's like this. Whoa, I'm sitting here and I really love, to have this show up outside my house today. I'm like, no,
exactly. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show today. It has been an absolute pleasure. And I don't care if you're controversial or not. I enjoyed it.
I don't want to be. I'm just trying to I
didn't think you were. But maybe it's because you say things that are in my head.
Yeah, I just think we got to talk about this stuff.
Exactly.
Thank you, Julie, so much. Yeah.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right. Thank you.
Bye. Unfortunately, that is all the time that we have for today. We will see you again soon, everyone.